Welcome back to Cleaning and Gathering. Yes, I want to say thank you to everybody who got up at 4 o'clock today to join me here in the studio. Great to have you all here. Today, I would like to talk to you about something I've been thinking about this week. I was listening to a podcast interview with Greg McKeown, who wrote the books Essentialism and Effortless, both great books, neither of which I have read completely, but which he did preview on the podcast. And essentialism is a single decision, really, that makes 1,000 other decisions. It's the way of really narrowing our focus so that we can say yes to the right thing. He pointed out that for about 500 years, the word priority was singular in the English language. It took about 500 years for us to make priorities plural. Priority having something that is first, which means that something else is second and third and so on. But to have a priority, to be able to focus in on what is it that I am actually going to do, I think is harder than ever before today. He points out that we are all buried in noise. In fact, the size of the system that's designed to distract you and I means that we have to work very hard to overcome that noise. It's everywhere. And technology has made it easier for us to connect with people far away from us, but it has been at the expense of people close to us. And so we're constantly inundated with messages from all kinds of places, but we find ourselves very challenged to be present where we are. At least that's been my experience. And so how do we combat that? How do we work to overcome that? And this idea of essentialism, or focusing in on those things that really are the work that we need to be doing as leaders, as parents, as teachers, whatever our vocation is, but also just as people, I think is critical in this day. We're surrounded with so much noise. And many times there's noise and there's things that are hitting our attention that we have no control over. We can do nothing about. And yet it just clutters up the desk of our mind and the dashboard of our life. One of the things that I came across in one of the podcasts I was listening to this week was that clarity is job number one for a leader. Followers are looking to us to be clear. And many times, I don't know about you, but everything is clear in my own mind. But when I start to try to communicate that to other people, that's when it gets a little fuzzy. But clarity, having that kind of clear-minded thought, clarity is essential. If we're going to be able to move forward, people have to understand what it is that we're wanting them to do to help us move forward. Followers in any organization are looking to a leader for protection and direction. What is it that we're actually trying to accomplish here? They're wanting that leader to lead them in a direction that's going to protect them individually. If this leader drives the organization off the cliff, he is going to ruin my career along with his and everybody else's here. And so there's a certain sense in which we have to place trust in a leader that he's going to do the right thing. And so followers in an organization are looking to a leader for protection. Are you going to be there in a way that will guarantee the long-term health and viability of this organization? Or are you going to get us into a bad spot and then bail out and go find another job? They're also looking for direction. And so being clear with our people and making sure that it is clear to them what it is that we are trying to do is essential if they're going to be able to do it for us. I know that sounds simple, but many times in the day-to-day, it's not. I mean, how many times have you heard someone say, well, we're thinking about letting so-and-so go? Really? Well, Why? Well, they're just not really working out here. Well, have we clearly defined the job? Have we made sure that they understand how to do the job and that they have the tools to do that job? And then held them to the clear, accountable benchmarks that we've both agreed to. This is how many calls we're going to make. This is how many visits need to be done. This is how many widgets need to be turned out in a day and therefore per hour. And have we made that clear? Do they know what winning looks like? Do they know what the scoreboard actually says? And so if we haven't done that, if we haven't been clear, then is it any wonder that they're not achieving this expectation that lives in our head but hasn't been actually communicated to them? And I think that many times that's the first thing. Have we actually put down on paper the thing that we want to accomplish? Have we been clear with ourselves about where it is we're going and what it is that we want to accomplish? I feel like that as a leader, that's one of the places that I've struggled. Even though sometimes I've had a long-term vision of, yes, this is where we want to go. In 10 years, this is where we want to be. Great, but what does that mean for next week? And what does that mean for the next 3 months? And how am I being clear with people about how the work that they have been given to do moves us towards that goal? And many times I haven't been clear. And because of that, people fill in the blanks. They come up with their own version of what they think it is that will move us toward that goal. And that may or may not be right, but they're going to figure it out. And unless we've been very clear with them from the very beginning, then they're going to just do what it is that they think is going to be most helpful. I think the other thing is that in our schedule, we have to be clear with ourselves. We're inundated with opportunity. We have to, as we're evaluating opportunities, recognize that if it's not a clear yes, then it's a clear no. If our default position is every opportunity that comes along, we're going to do it, we are going to be choking on opportunity, as Jim Collins would say. We need to have a framework for being able to understand, is this something that is in our core focus and what we need to be doing? And if the answer is not clearly yes, then it's a no. And so essentialism, that single decision that makes 1,000 other decisions, starts with our mission. At Heartland Christian School, where I'm currently working and serving, the mission there is partnering with parents to develop Christ-like leaders. And just this past week, we had a very difficult leadership conversation. There right now is a situation that we're dealing with that really came back to our mission. There's a child right now with really no real relationship with the parents and the teachers. There's someone else who's taking care of their bill for them to be at Heartland. They're there primarily because of the relationship with their church. And so right now there's problems in the child's life. But how are we as teachers and as a school to address that when we don't have a relationship with the parents? And we care very deeply about this child. But our core mission is partnering with parents to develop Christ-like leaders. And the issues that are there right now with this child are parent issues. And they're issues that we're not going to be able to solve at a school level. They have to be addressed by the parent. And so the question that we're having to ask right now is, if there are not parents to partner with, is Heartland Christian School the right place for this child? Because that's essential. For us, our mission is partnering with parents. And so that is an example of a single decision that is now making other decisions. We made a decision that our mission, our primary mission, is partnering with parents to develop Christ-like leaders, which means that there are a lot of kids out there that sadly do not have involved, caring parents. And so therefore, they are not going to be eligible to be a part of what we're doing at Heartland, because our mission is partnering with parents. And so that's a decision that we made. And that decision is now making other decisions. But by saying yes to virtually everything, then we bury the essential contribution that we really want to make. And if we would just say, well, we are trying to develop young people into Christ-like leaders, well, that's great. But now we get everyone who gets kicked out of the public school, everyone that everyone else doesn't want, and are we able to do that? And I can give you plenty of examples of places that believe they were going to just try to change kids' lives, but the balance, the scales get tipped in the wrong direction and peer pressure begins to go a different way. And you've got chaos, you've got absolute madness and insanity. And young people that are coming from Christian families are saying, we're not signing up for this. We're out of here. We're done, which further tips the scales. And so our mission at Heartland is to partner with parents. And so in making that decision, that means that is the one essential contribution that we want to make. We believe that God has given children to parents. And we believe that our mission as a school is to partner with those parents in their God-given responsibility to train their children. And so as we come alongside them and help them, that's the decision that we've made. That's our essential contribution. But if we say yes to virtually everything, then we end up burying that essential contribution. And I think that many times in life, we get buried. I get buried. And to be able to pause long enough to say again, okay, what is it that I said was the most important thing here? What is it again that really matters? I had a day this week that I felt like was 2 days long. And by the time that I had finished that day, I just felt overwhelmed, exhausted, and a little angry. And the next morning, as I was sitting at my desk reading the scriptures and praying and just journaling, processing what had happened the day before, I got a perspective that was completely different. I want to encourage you, if you don't have this habit of journaling, to just take 30 minutes of your day, completely tech-free, sit down, paper and pen, and begin to write. What's going on? Just get the noise out there. Just put it down on paper. What's happening right now? And then the second question to begin to ask yourself is, what does this noise reveal? What is this showing? And then the third question is, now what? And as you begin to put that plan to paper, as you begin to just write that out, some things can begin to emerge. And I think three things, again, this is from a podcast with McEwen, but he says three things to really ask in this. What is your priority today? What's the one thing? What is the one essential thing about today that you need to pay attention to? Second, what's urgent? What is it that's on your calendar that's pressing in? And yes, it may not be super important, but it's here. It's something you need to pay attention to. And if you don't, you're going to be stressed about it. And then what are three items of maintenance? What are three things that just need to be maintained that you need to pay attention to today? And write that down. Without doing that, without taking time to just sit, reflect, and begin to make a plan, you're just going to live and work reactively. And reactivity as a lifestyle is a terrible way to live. And so I just want to encourage you to design your days instead of just operating by default. Design your day rather than just operating by default. Maybe you're already doing that. And if you are, congratulations. Wonderful. That's beautiful. But I know that for some of the rest of us, that's a challenge. To get up each and every day and to not just work reactively, to hit the ground and just wait for the phone to ring or wait for the email to come in, and whatever it is, you react to that, and that's what you work on. But instead, to actually have a plan and begin to take control of what you can take control of. I love that serenity prayer. Lord, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. There's lots of things you can't change. You have no control over them. And so if you haven't got control of it, then why worry about it? There are lots of things that we worry about that will never happen. But clarity is job number one for a leader. You have to be clear. You have to be clear about what you're going to do. And you also have to be clear about what your team is going to do. And so beginning to take control and to work proactively rather than reactively by designing your days. What are the things that I need to be paying attention to? And what is priority today? What's the one thing that I need to be looking at? And so I want you to do that. I want to challenge you to do that today. That's something I'm working on this morning as I sit here at my desk. It's now a little after 4:30, and there's a lot that I want to accomplish. We've got a big harvest celebration here at Victory Acres, celebrating 19 years in existence tomorrow. There's a lot of work that needs to be done to try to get ready for the guests that are coming. I've got a message to prepare for Sunday, and there's work to do there. And as I look at my board, I've got a soccer game that I'll be going to tonight for Samuel, his last of the season. Sarah's got an event that she's going to. We're hosting the Building for a Brighter Tomorrow banquet next Tuesday at Heartland Christian School, and there's some work that needs to be done for that. I'm going to be hosting another workshop this next week for schedule optimization on Tuesday morning, and I'm trying to do some promotion for that still. I'll be speaking at Clemens Home Solutions that morning in another workshop. There's lots of things going on. But what is priority? And as I take time to just, in the stillness, in the silence, reflect and get close to the heart of God, I can hear more clearly what it is that He wants me to be focused on. To be able to say with Jesus, I do nothing except my Father tells me to. Nothing. My food and my drink is to do the will of Him who sent me. To be able to live a life that at the end, that I could say with Jesus, I have finished the work that you gave me to do. And so today on my board in front of me, it says I must control my schedule and plan ahead. I must generate content. I must connect with people. I must contemplate and pray. Those are the 4 essentials that, for me at least right now, I cannot delegate to anyone else. Those are the things that I need to be doing. With the skills that God's given me to do, I have to take those things and do them. And in the day-to-day, there's lots of demands on our time. There's lots of people that have wonderful plans for our life. Hey, here's this project, and you could come and you could really make a difference, and you could be involved in this. And the question that I have to ask is this something God's calling me to? Is this something that fits with what he has given me to do? Or is this just noise? Is this just more noise? And so I want to encourage you to evaluate where you're at right now, to think about it. Put your phone down, sit down, and just begin to think through these questions. I think one of the lies that we bought into is that really doing the essential thing is hard. And if it's not hard, then it must not really be work. But, Greg McKeown points out that optimal effort equals maximum results. And many times we're working hard, but we're working at the wrong things. And instead, we need to find a way to make the essential effortless. I think one of the most essential things that I did this week was go on a date with my wife. It wasn't hard. In fact, it was very easy, and yet it was one of the most essential things that I could do. Taking time with God in prayer and in His Word is not hard, but it's one of the most essential things that I can do. Developing relationships isn't hard, but many people struggle to do it. And I think one of the reasons is that we have this idea that if it's not hard, then it must not be worth it. This idea that hard work is how you get to the top. You have to work hard, harder than anyone else. And we think that it needs to be hard. We need to be gritting our teeth and just pressing through and skipping lunch and doing all the things because that's how you do this. When in reality, you can't live that way, not long term. And so how do we make the essential things effortless? And how do we design those things into our day, into our week, in such a way that makes those things that are important a regular part of our rhythm? It's a great way to just continue to grow and to develop. That's some of what I've been gleaning and gathering this week. And I just wanted to share it with you. I'm grateful. I'm grateful that God's given me the opportunity. And there are some of you that are still listening to this podcast in spite of me. I do truly appreciate it. I'm thankful for those that have shared your feedback along the way. This is not one of those professionally produced podcasts. I get that, okay? You've got those out there. They've got great content. But I've said all the way along, this is the kind of conversation that I would want to have with you just sitting with me at my kitchen table. Just talking about life and stuff and what I'm learning, what's going on. That's what's important to me. I want a podcast that Tonwea, that Alan, that Scott, that Martin, that Matt, those others that I love to have good conversations with, and I do regularly. I want to have a conversation with you like I would have with them. If I were sitting with them in my office at our kitchen table, that's my goal for this podcast. And so if you stumbled on this and you're like, what in the world is this guy? And what is he trying to do here? This is whatever I'm gleaning, This is what I'm learning, and I'm just trying to pass that along in a way and in a format that hopefully will provide some of you with the material that you need to go to sleep at night. You know who you are. This podcast has been known to put people to sleep. One guy was telling me he's driving down the road, listening to Gleaning and Gathering and thinking, oh man, I got to shut this off. Something about your voice, he said, just so soothing. And so if you're having a hard time going to sleep, just want to say there is Gleaning and Gathering. So if I can be of help, please let us know. We are grateful for those of you who have taken time to listen. And if there is something here that has been helpful to you, or something that you think we need to do more of, or speak to, questions that we need to cover, or things that you would like for us to do, please let me know. I am open to suggestion, and I welcome your feedback, your comments. And also, you can rate or subscribe. That will help us to be able to reach more people if you find it valuable, if you find it helpful. And if you don't, that's fine too. There's plenty of other content out there. And if you're a podcast person, you are aware that there is a plethora, great word, plethora of great material. But if you're looking for a conversation and conversations that have been encouraging, helpful to me, and things that I'm gleaning along the way, welcome. It's great to have you here. For Gleaning and Gathering, God bless.